Hey, welcome in. Well, it seems to me as if the modern left just wants this antiseptic world where nobody is ever offended except the people who slightly disagree with them on anything. Those people can be offended, no problem. But they sure don't want to be offended. They don't want to see anything that ever offends their delicate sensibilities. And so we have this headline. Jason Momoa confronts New York Times interviewer, of course from the New York Times, over icky, politically loaded question. Now, this is in regards to his role in Game of Thrones, the show which was massively popular, in large part due to the fact that it had a lot of people doing really unsavory things. Even the good guys were doing a lot of unsavory things. People find that interesting. And interesting, anything interesting, cannot be antiseptic. It cannot have been purified by the cultists on the left. But of course, the cherished grievance culture of the new left never rests because it needs to feed. It needs to find something to be offended by. And that's how you get New York Times interviewers asking Jason Momoa if he regrets the things his fictional character did in the show Game of Thrones. So let's see. This reporter, David Marchese, I hope that's how it's pronounced, who is apparently, according to the New York Times itself, a master of conversation. He did an interview with Jason Momoa. And apparently it started out just talking about like superhero movies, blah, blah, blah. But the conversation took a turn when Marchese suggested that politically incorrect material shouldn't appear in fictional series. Politically incorrect material. Well, just throw away everything then. And anything that's left over, nobody's going to want to watch anyway because it's going to be boring and antiseptic and not interesting. Because people behaving badly is interesting. People like to watch that. Especially when there's a satisfying comeuppance at the end of it for their behavior. And it kind of sends a message to society like, don't be a monster, right? Maybe that's a good thing. Anyway, here it says, on the topic of Game of Thrones, Marchese said, quote, I don't know how much you followed any of this, but the show inspired a lot of discussion about its depiction of scenes of sexual assault and its treatment of women generally. He then asked, do you think differently today about those scenes? Would you do one now? Do you have any regrets? So I guess some of the scenes that he was in Game of Thrones were triggering to this journalist. I mean, did the guy have to go and see a therapist afterwards? I don't know. It doesn't mention in here. Has he had trouble sleeping after watching Game of Thrones because he was so triggered and disturbed by the things that he saw in the fictional story? Again, it doesn't say. But for some reason, this person is concerned about fictitious characters in stories. Anyway, Momoa answered the question. He said, well, it was important to depict Drogo and his style. You're playing someone that's like Genghis Khan. Yeah, that was the character. He was a brutal guy. That's what made his character interesting, I think. And it made it interesting as we saw his relationship with the blonde-haired dragon lady develop. But anyway, but my job was to play something like that, like Genghis Khan. And it's not a nice thing. And it's what that character was. It's not my job to go, would I not do it? I've never really been questioned about. Do you regret playing a role? We'll put it this way. I already did it, not doing it again. Although I don't understand why he wouldn't do it again. I mean, again, it's just a fictional character. He's not actually being that person. Does anybody understand this? They're not real people. They're just in a story. But in any case, let's see. After that point, the 42-year-old's answers turned terse and seemed to convey irritation towards Marchese. Yeah, I think well-deserved irritation. I mean, who wants this antiseptic world that these people want to create? I mean, maybe if Drogo had been orange, that would have sat better. And keep in mind that this stuff, this cancel culture, this political correctness, wokeness, whatever you want to call it, it never stops. Like, it doesn't reach a destination and goes, okay, we won. It keeps going. It keeps going and eroding away the boundaries as it goes, as less and less things are deemed acceptable. I mean, what about microaggressions? Is that triggering to this journalist? Is it okay for him if, like, one character, fictitious character in a movie, asks another fictitious character, like, where they're from? Hey, where are you from? Is that going to trigger this guy? Will he lose sleep for a month? What about if a character drinks milk? Will that be promoting supremeness in some way? I'm actually not even being facetious. I mean, that is where this lunacy leads to. Don't believe me? Here's the New York Times. Why white supremacists are chugging milk and why geneticists are alarmed. Yeah, they haven't completely lost their minds. Anyway, along with offering one-word responses, Juan Marchis asked if MOMOA could share a memory from the time when he was traveling the world. MOMOA answered, "Not really for you." At the conclusion of the interview, after Marchis said, "Okay, I guess we're done," MOMOA took the opportunity to express his frustrations with what he seemed to perceive as a gotcha question. Quote, "Yeah, and I wanted to bring something up that left a bad feeling in my stomach. When you brought up Game of Thrones, you brought up stuff about what's happening with my character and would I do it again. I was bummed when you asked me that. It just feels icky." I would have used a better word than that. I would have said idiotic. But anyway, putting it upon me to remove something. As if an actor even had the choice to do that. We're not really allowed to do anything. There are producers, there are writers, there are directors, and you don't get to come in and be like, "I'm not going to do that because this isn't kosher right now and not right in the political climate." That never happens, so it's a question that just feels icky. Again, I would say idiotic. I just wanted you to know that. But really, I think the real answer here is just that to make a good story, you need heroes and villains. You need villains, you need heroes, you need people that are kind of villain, kind of good. You need people to wrestle with their conscience, you need people to learn and become better. It's those dynamics that make the story interesting. And it makes it more satisfying if at the end, the people who actually, whatever they've done, have a good heart and prove that by the end of the story. If it turns out that they win, it makes it really satisfying for people. And again, I just want to state that I think if they'd made Drogo orange, this conversation wouldn't have happened. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me out. If you'd just like to listen, there's the podcast, Radio Baloney. So on pretty much every platform. If you look for it, you will find it. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.